today we will be talking about sleep. I don't know how many people have problems. Not about yourself, about the kids. Maybe one day we will talk about
Us parents.
yeah. But today our sleep, we are talking about kids,
Our children.
really small,
Yes.
yeah, and who are trying to transition to independent sleepers. Okay, so different kids have different age. So today our focus is really more on kids who are baby stage, from about 6 months to
6 months
about
and above.
18 months. And then we'll be sharing a little bit more about safety aspects when you are putting your child to sleep. Okay, I don't know what's the right term. Put your child to sleep.
So
Like it sounds like I used to say, I always tell my husband, it's time to put my child to sleep. Then he's like, huh? It sounds pretty wrong. I don't know what's the term. Anyone who's here, maybe you can tell me what's the right term. I mean, I don't know.
do you have a name for your bedtime routines or like?
Or do you even have a routine?
Yeah. Like Colin mentioned, like Parents Huddle is here also for you guys to contribute. So if there's anything like you think that might be useful for other parents as well, please just shoot in the comments below and we'll actually project it up on our live feed onto the screen so that others can read along as well. So don't forget, before we start the program, like and share, make it public so that other people can benefit of our live show as well.
Yeah, it's meant also for parents who are hoping to get pregnant or preparing to have a child. Yeah, I think it is very useful information. I would have loved something like this because you can read so much about everything on the internet. You can do a lot of research, but you don't know what you don't know. You need to search, and when you search, you need to know the term. So a lot of times, as new parents, I always struggle with I didn't know things like weaning, that kind of stuff. I mean, if nobody brought it up to me, I don't know. I don't think it's about kids can actually go to bed by themselves, that kind of stuff. So it's always useful to get pointers, and then from there you can do your additional research. And really, like what Michelle just shared, let us know what are your concerns, point it out, and then we can find it as a topic, maybe talk about it at some point. Some things we may not have thought of because there are things that we find very easy, it's part of our lifestyle, and we didn't really struggle with it. But different parents are different human beings are different. So while I've got 3 kids and she's got 2, and we've seen thousands and thousands of babies, we can guess to a certain extent. Okay, our expertise is really baby wearing as well. But as to how deeply we know the kid, only probably every child is unique, every parent is unique. So I wouldn't say that we won't proclaim that we know everything, but with everyone's sharing, hopefully it can help some other parent out there as well. Yeah. So please like and share. Yeah. And
Okay, so as when it comes down to parenting, there's not one handbook I think that equates or actually can fulfill all the parenting tips and all the things that we would like to know about parenting, because parenting is a never-ending learning journey basically. So that's why we're here today and with you, because we believe that together as a group, as a huddle, like our live show name is, like we can contribute more things to make each other's parenting journey a little bit more what's the word?
We want to say easier, but the thing is that it's not quite right, the word, because parenting is never easy. I tell you that every kid that I go through, different things I go through. And I think even with 2 kids, she's got different worries for different kids, different things that she encounter. And then one can be so easy, everything is fine, and then the other one is like, it's not their fault, all right? Don't blame your kid.
All right, but so this week's main topic is, which was also requested before, that we will be talking about transitioning children to independent sleepers and as young as 6 months, because during the fourth trimester, that means after the baby is born, about 3 or 4 months in, they are actually not very aware of what is day and night time. Like they have no, like they don't have the concept of time or light or dark or not much of it yet until they transition to about half-year old, like 6 months and above. That's when we see that there are some children that might be ready, or you may want to start looking out for tips and tricks and things to implement in so-called maybe your nap or sleep routine that makes them more independent sleepers. Some may not be fully independent sleepers, but that's totally fine, as long we all get our sanity back, right? So what we did over the weekend, we actually had an e-interview with a mommy called Justine. And Justine is a wonderful mom of 4 children, and they're aged very closely. 8 years old, 6 years old, 3.5 years old, and 1.5. So you see the age gap is pretty big, except for the third, the second and the third child. There's a little bit more of a gap. But we always wonder like how she manages, because she's not only a stay-at-home mom, but she also runs 2 businesses at the side, which is a diaper cake company and also Big Little Me, which she sells baby products as well at the side. Okay, so but managing all these plus the household and 4 children and husband, husbands are big babies right now. Just kidding lah. Okay, so that is actually a very huge thing to undertake, and she actually shared with us during the interview that if she hadn't implemented some of her independent sleeping times for the kids, like for her, she has different sleep routines. Like she believes in early bedtimes. Of course, we know for the average person that has to go to office to work, 7 or 8 p.m. may not be very attainable for people like us. But that's totally fine. The point she was making here that there is a routine, and we'll talk more about that, how she does it, because I can't imagine having 4 kids so close in age and then still running 2 businesses at home and still catching up with cooking and laundry and everything. Like she always cooks. Okay, so there's a photo of her beautiful family at the side. So you can see 2 boys, 2 girls, and her lovely husband at the back. But okay, one thing that she said is like, your partner has to be involved as well. So her husband actually helps her to put them to bed and stays in the room until they fall asleep before coming out. Now, some of you might ask, how is this independent sleeping? Independent sleeping, part of it is that you don't need to stay with them throughout the night. Seeing them to bed and tugging them and having a good night kiss and then seeing them go to sleep, I think that is pretty natural for a parent to do that. I'm not sure about you.
Well, I guess for how you perceive sleeping as being independent differs from parent to parent, as well as differs from kid to kid. All right, some babies are, should I say babies or toddlers, because different babies or toddlers, they are ready to sleep at different ages, and some actually need you to pack them to sleep. Some just need a bottle of warm milk. Some need to breastfeed. And some just want a bath, you read them a book, and then you just say goodnight. Oh, that's in the movies, yeah. You see that all the time. But believe me, for most people, it's not the case, and especially not for really young kids. So typically, there are many thoughts about when is the right age. Okay, it can be anywhere from about 6 months, 8 months, all the way to maybe 2, 3, 4 years old. I don't know how Justin does it. Everybody has different takes. But independent sleepers, some people would see that if you just stay with them for a while, and then after that when they fall asleep, then they can be left alone. That's generally attainable when the kid is a little bit more aware, able to make their feelings known and their thoughts known. Yeah. Not necessarily by speech, but just by gesturing as well. So yeah, that actually helps. Simply because you know that they are not scared or anything like that. I think it helps really for you to be able to communicate with your kid to determine whether they are ready to be independent that way. That means when they fall asleep, they can just you don't have to be there, because there are ways you can actually communicate with them to let them know. Then of course some people see independent sleepers as, go to bed and then the child goes to bed. Unfortunately, I have to say, if we are the show will be more focusing on helping your child. is transitioning, not really to actually go full on into like you go to bed and then the child just goes to sleep. That one usually when they're a bit older, they know they can talk, they can walk, they can go to the toilet by themselves. I think that's the right age, which we'll talk about it another time. But today we're focusing on the independent being, giving them a little bit of help.
Yes. I think Pauline made some very valid points here. Like communication is key, whether through words or through gestures. I think it's very important to notice that about our children. And Justine has one last tip for us parents out there. She says it may be she's maybe more towards the early sleeper, a little more to the extreme side, she would say, but she feels that routine is very important, and it cultivates good sleep habits. She and her husband both, they agree as a parent couple, that they prioritize sleep over everything else, so that bedtime routine starts at 7 for them, and everybody should be in bed by 8, and then means lights off. There's no need to be asleep. But I think this is also part of the independence where they know, okay, lights is off and I need to be quiet and like I need to relax and tone down. So when you relax, you can actually fall asleep better. Like this is the kind of habit she cultivates. And I think it's great that she and her, I think it's important if you also communicate with your partner that this is the kind of habits we want at home. So yeah, it induces sleep.
Yeah, I would think if both parents are going to be at home, I think it's very important that you decide together as a family, because it's much easier to implement. Because for kids who are young, I mean, different people bring up their families differently. So I mean, if you want to have an early bedtime, obviously the parents can't go out at all. So I mean, some parents like to go out late because it's a family culture, they are somewhere else, then you may have to unfortunately adjust your sleep routines around it. But I think what's very valid, Michelle, is that Justin said something about routine is something that is probably in every sleep, should I call training? I mean, I don't like the idea of sleep training, but different people are different. Here we don't say, oh, this is good, this is bad. But generally, we are more attuned to our kids, so we tend towards attachment. But I wouldn't just judge that if somebody says sleep training means it's bad. Yeah, I mean, as long as you adhere to a few points, the child is always taken care of. I think it stems from the belief, your objective, and the heart that is really for the good of the child, and how you implement it. So I mean, Michelle, I think routine is really, really important. It's something that I feel almost everyone who, well, I hope everyone who claims they are sleep experts. Okay, not everybody is sleep experts when they say they are sleep experts, all right? So please listen to your own heart. Routines are the most important. I think almost everybody will think it's critical to actually it actually makes or break whether you can help your child transition to an independent sleeper. Why? Because even as adults, I don't think today if like for a couple of days you go partying, until late, 2 a.m. and then you go back and hit the sack, right after because you're really tired, right? And then you say, okay, now I'm going to start work. Then this week I'm going to sleep really early, like 9 o'clock. I don't think that's going to work. So I mean, even our adult bodies, we have biological clocks. We are used to a certain way of doing things, their habits. So if you constantly break the habit this way, it's not your clock doesn't recognize it. It takes time, right? It's habit forming, and as a result, if you translate it to a child who doesn't talk, doesn't know much about the world, I think it creates even more havoc. So routine is definitely something that I think is very important.
Yeah,
how was your experience like? I mean,
well, because all along, I've been mostly in office jobs. So when I had my kids, then again, routine. I really stuck to routine. I know every child is different and every parent as well. That's totally fine. But I'm someone who's a little bit old school, I guess, a bit like Justine, like early bedtimes, early wake up. So for us, like even though I maybe end up home 7, by the time I cook dinner, blah blah blah. So I said, but 8:30 we have to be brushing teeth inside the bedroom and we'll wind down. Like it's very standard. Like of course there are exceptions and all that. I'm a bit more relaxed when it comes to that. Like when it's a party or it's an event last time. Yeah, I would of course make an exception. You guys can stay up late, all these kind of things. But usually we will stick to 8:30 and then lights out, brushing teeth, and then wind down. Maybe read a storybook. Usually, like we are very into storybooks now. That is one of the things that will help them to like trigger. Yeah.
Okay, to me it's a little bit different. Our routines, there's different ways of looking again, different ways to look at what is independence, different ways to look at what is routine. So to a child who doesn't read the clock yet, actually routine to them doesn't mean fixed. It means it's the routine. All right. In Michelle's case, she prefers to use it to guide her way of putting the child to sleep at what time, and that kind of kickstarts that. But for me personally, most times I'm busy and okay, I gotta cook for 5 eaters at home. So that's a lot of different, it's a whole ball game altogether. So sleep routines to us is more like how you wind down. It doesn't really matter what time, but roughly we try to stick around there because of the biological clock. But routine actually means to some families, and you can use this way if it's not possible for you to stick to an exact time, to actually say there's a certain thing you do before you put the child to sleep. For example, you can say take a warm bath. Okay, after that dry up, read a story, and then massage, and then after that you kind of tuck the child in bed, stay with the child for a couple of minutes. I think over time the child gets it, and after they fall asleep, in fact for very young kids that can happen as well, as long as they're a bit more aware. So that to me is actually a routine. As long as you don't like today is a bit brighter, you want to go park tour, your helper at home. 7 o'clock still quite bright, right? You put your child to sleep using the same routine, and then the next night you do it at 9 o'clock. Obviously the light is a bit different, so to the child it may upset that. But apart from that, I think routine really means what kind of things you do before you put a child to bed. Yeah. So that's another way to look at routines. To me, I'm big on routines, but I'm really flexible because I've got kids who vary widely in age, and teenagers versus younger kids is really different. And the babies are always trying to sleep as late as the teenagers. That doesn't happen. Okay, and it's really up to you. But I think key is really routine. But having said our experiences, I think there are some studies that show how many hours your child actually needs to sleep a day. Adult, child, teens.
Actually, if you want to look up the amount of hours a child needed, I can't remember from the top of my head, but I think it's at least 12 to 14 hours if I'm not wrong.
Okay, if you've got a newborn, I've got the information that I got from the websites. A good guide would be for newborns would be 14 to 17 hours. So different kids are different. Some babies just cannot sleep a lot. My first child doesn't even sleep much. All right, she's just never sleep. All right, so I cannot achieve 14 hours. I think if I think back, I don't think she slept 14 hours. But that's quite all right. These are exceptions. Don't need to kill yourself over it. It's just a guide. All right, it's 14 to 17 hours. Then for toddlers, we are talking about 12 to 15 hours, and teenagers 8 to 10 hours. And adults, for the same reason, everyone's different. So you have to see how much sleep you need. Some people need a bit more, some people need a bit less. You should tune yourself up to that. And what about naps?
Naps, usually during the early years, you have like 5 or 6 naps a day, right? Easily.
Yeah.
Also, again, depending on your baby's needs and how long.
Yeah, I think I used to fret about it. Like your first child, 2 hours? Are you sure? My 15 minutes left.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. But throughout time we learn that it's really normal. It depends on the child really. Yeah. But it's up to us parents to create the right kind of environment so that over time they become attuned, hopefully earlier than later.
Right, so during the early phases, like especially fourth trimester, you can expect anything 5 to 6 naps on average. Of course, there's always exceptions, like we said, and then above 6 months, they usually tend to drop a few of those, so we end up with like 2 major naps by the time you're 1 year old, and then about between 12 to 18 months somewhere, some of the kids tend to transit to one nap, a long one in after lunch or something like that, because that's what the childcare does for our kids as well when we go to work. So yeah.
I would say overall, would I be right to say that overall, we'll be looking at sleep for the entirely? I think that's how we will like to calculate. Don't stress yourself out. That's just a guide. So if your child is roughly there, I think we're all fine, all right? So even regarding nap, some people will be worried. Why is your child, I think about 3 or 4 years old, most people will be comparing, your child nap, your child don't nap. How long does your child nap? I think it's just stressing out us parents out. So we just look at it an entire day. And actually, interestingly, 50% of the kids actually stop napping around the age of 4. All right. And then by age 5, about 70% drop their naps, which means to say about 30% still need their naps. I have friends who still need their afternoon naps.
Adults?
Yeah, I think when we were in university, and they talk about power naps as well in the office. I think some time ago there was some study and all that adults need power naps as well. So I guess it really all depends. But since we are talking about how to help your child, I think most importantly is to actually establish a routine that you can actually stick to. That would be the best. Whether it's you, your partner, or your helper, it will really help the child in the longer run, and for you to lose less get over it is to have actually a so-called fixed routine, a way of doing it.
Okay, so before we move on to our next segment, there's a very interesting website that we found. It's literally called sleep.org. It's a bit like a blog style. They actually recommend certain kind of reading lights, night lights, what kind of shade of night light you should have, which later on in the next segment, Donnie, our safety expert, will be talking about how to sleep safe as well. And also they will talk about blackout shades and curtains. They even recommend your mattresses. And you can also read more about how much sleep an average person needs more in depth over there. And there are things like white noise that may help certain children to sleep. Just try whatever works for you guys, basically.
Or maybe the kids are scared.
So one major tip that they had on their website, sleep.org, is that in the bedroom, try not to make it too much of a playroom, because there will be a lot of distractions. Like as adults, we like to use phones, right? Want to watch show on the Netflix, on the this, on the that. And at the end, cannot sleep. It's the same for kids. So for us, we always restrict just soft toys, and we have a mini library in our with our Dr. Seuss books and our readers books, nicely lined up, and then that's it. Nothing else. Okay, my wardrobe, no toys basically. So it will create a more conducive sleep environment. So you may want to, you can check out your room and see whether this helps for you guys as well. All right, but read more on sleep.org, and now we will move on to.
Yes, you'll get Johnny to talk about safety in the bedroom and helping the child transition to independent sleepers. Okay, right over to you, Donnie.
Hi, hello everyone. Can you see me? Yeah. Okay. So today I have a few things just to share with you in terms of safety products wise. What can we do for the little ones as we transit them to sleep by themselves? For the slightly younger ones, we have something. Usually, slightly younger ones, they can't exactly express themselves as well. We won't move around that much yet. So this is something which may come in handy. A lot of times we have the worry that the baby sleep in their own cot, they kick the blanket, the blanket move in the wrong places, there can be suffocation risks and everything. This is something which is a little tool to help you. This is called a blanket holder, which you can see. It's something for you to hook onto the side of a cot, and you can actually clip your blanket. By the way, all these are safe for baby to bite on, so it's actually tested for heavy metals and everything, so it's very safe. So it's the whole purpose is to make sure that this you put it around. It comes in a pack of 4 like this, and you can clip the blanket to make sure that they stay in place, so they don't go away, and then they don't go cover the baby in the wrong places. Okay, so these are something that you will want to consider if the baby is still very young. You can still use it for older kids, particularly those that keep away the blanket. So as the kid gets a bit older, sometimes you can interact with them, and to help them get to bed, we talk about having a routine. So night light actually can form a very good part of the routine. So a lot of kids are, they're intrigued with cute little lights and all, and this is something that they will know that, okay, I need to go to bed now. I get to park my night light. So something like this, these are very suitable for that purpose. Small ones that they can carry around to bed, and there are ones that go around. You can see all this very gentle, very soothing kind of lights to actually help the baby go to sleep. So they know that once they see the light, it's time to sleep. So they actually will look forward to bedtime because they get to see the lights. Because you can't actually see the lights if the lights are on. So it has to be dark. And this sort of helps them to overcome. A lot of kids have the fear of darkness. So this sort of changed that a little bit, reprogram them to actually like dark, because if you don't have it dark, you can't see the lights. So basically, this is good. And this too is a little bit more. This one is a starlight. It's called a starlino. So basically, in a dark room, you can actually see the stars transiting colors all over the rooms, walls, and ceilings. So something like this again encourages the kid to enjoy darkness. Time to go to sleep. This does a little bit more. This is a magic starlight. It comes with the starlight. It also comes with white noise. So if your child has a problem with sleeping, and white noise actually can help, particularly the kids slightly younger. So you actually would be able to turn on the white noise here. I don't know whether you can hear. I can turn on some for you. This is a heartbeat one for the younger ones, but you can have the water sound. This is the inset one. It also comes with music and all, but the white noise particularly is very useful for the slightly younger ones. Okay, so it also comes with time, alarm, as well as the thermometer. So you can actually make sure and check the room temperature. Things like this can be very important because you want to keep it constant for a while so that they really get into this routine. And something like this, so night lights are very, very useful for that. And there's one more light which I want to highlight to you is this. As the child gets a little bit more mobile, particularly those past 1 year, closer to 18 months, you realize sometimes they can climb out of their bed. Things like this. When that happens, this will come in handy. This is actually a sensor light that you can place anywhere. So imagine you place this near the foot of the bed. So you know that the child gets on that side. The moment they pass this, it lights up. And this only works when it's dark. So you don't have to worry about it turning on whole day or what. You just place it at the right places. Some people place it at staircases, some people place it near the bed, so that when the child gets out of bed themselves and you're not around, they will actually be able to see and they will not be fumbling in the dark. So something like this could be very, very useful for safety. Okay, so you will look something like this. This is just temporary. I can switch it on like a normal light, but I can switch it to auto mode. Then let's say turn on whenever somebody walks past. So something like this is very, very useful, particularly for safety at night if you are transiting your kid to becoming more independent. Okay? And for the older ones, starting from about 18 months, usually you transit them into their own bed. They don't want to sleep in the cot. So for something like this, it would be useful to consider a bed rail. So we have quite a few models of bed rail. You can check out our website. But we have those that are what we call 50 cm height, the extra tall ones. Because a lot of times, the usual ones that you see out there will be 30, 40 cm. But the 50 cm ones allow you to have at least enough barrier for the child. And if you are using slightly thicker mattress, you don't have to worry so much. One thing about bed wheels that you may want to be aware of, safety-wise, it is recommended that either you lift, if this is the headrest of the bed, the distance from the headrest to the bed wheel is recommended to be about 25 cm. The reason why is that there is a risk of strangulation if the child goes to sleep and the head, the neck sort of got caught in this corner. This is something that we want to prevent, of course. So either you keep 25 cm or you make it less than 11 cm. So safety standard is, if you want to reduce the gap, it has to be less than 11 cm. If not, keep it about 25 cm will be good. Okay, so if you want to flush it all the way to the headboard, yes, you can do that. Make sure that the gap is small. If you want to leave a gap, the gap has to be 25. So this is just a tip for you for the bed wheel. So I hope you can remember. And for today, we actually have a parents' hardware special on these two starlights, 15% off on the website. So you can just go to Baby Gates and Safety, go under the discounts section. You should be able to see the two starlights, 15% off until end of the day. Okay. So I hand over to Bernie now.
Hello, thank you, Donnie. Okay, as Donnie has said just now. All right, if there's no questions, we'll end today. So next Monday, we'll see you at 1 p.m. We'll be talking about toddler-specific questions. Those of you with questions regarding toddlers, join us for the show, 1 p.m. on Parents Huddle. Same here on this channel next week, all right? See you. Bye.